What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Limitless Minds Closet Cast Behind the Brand. Once again, still don't have the name figured out for this. Today we've got Jayson with us, and if you saw the last episode where we had Nina, Jayson's lovely girlfriend and wife and everything under the sun, now we're getting to hear the story from the other side, from Jayson's perspective. So Jayson, give him a little intro about who you are, what you do, and what you're up to.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, Miller. My name's Jayson. I'm a photographer from Iowa. I met Miller back in Des Moines, man, like 10 years ago or so.
Yeah.
I do photography, other creative stuff, video. Yeah, I just kind of do everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, when he says he does everything, he's just like Nina. They're jacks of all trades, right? When people in the Midwest and Iowa and stuff like that, when we have to become creative, right? We don't get access to a whole giant book of business or a book of opportunities or anything like that. We kind of have to turn turn dust into magic, and so you kind of have to learn all the aspects of everything just to be able to make a project, right? There's not grip hands, and there's not lighting experts, and there's not audio technicians and all this sort of stuff. No, you got to be the one that figures it all out. And so Jayson, just like Nina, they have kind of learned and mastered everything that's in this space, and they've been able to take their talents and move them out to Los Angeles and be able to make it a fulfilling life for them. Right. So yeah, Jayson, when we first met, it was back in Iowa. We were doing a human photo shoot.
We were, yeah, for one of your famous shirts. It was, I don't know the exact quote, but Nina still owns the shirt and wears it all the time. It was girls kissing girls or something.
Yeah, no, we've got bigger issues than boys kissing boys and girls kissing girls.
I loved it. That was the first time I remember coming to your house, meeting you for the first time. Yeah, it was dope. We just clicked it right away.
Yeah,
because I think you can tell, like, if you're creative and you meet another creative from Iowa and there's something special about them. Like, I instantly knew, like,
just in sync.
Yeah, like when you're from Iowa and you try so hard, like when you meet someone like you know that there's a connection. You know what I mean? Like, they're onto some big things, and like, now look at us. Like, out of everybody from Iowa, we're together in Iowa. I mean, in California.
In California.
And it's just kind of crazy to think about, like, where we came from and now where we are currently.
And even on top of that, you look at everybody that's inside of the HQ there.
Oh my God.
There's a bunch of Iowans, right? Anywhere we go, it's like we're always getting the one or two extra Iowans. It's we're small, but we're mighty, and
and we kick ass, and people always ask me, they're like, how are there so many Iowa people out in California? And I'm like, well, in Iowa, there's only a certain limit you can hit, I feel like. And then you have to branch out somewhere. So to get out of Iowa, you have to go harder than probably people do in California.
Absolutely.
To get out to California and then start again in California and then go up again.
Yeah, most people that are coming out here, I mean, now, sure, if you know us or if you know people that are in similar groups or whatever, you might have a little bit of a base network that you can kind of tap into.
Right.
But most folks, like when we first moved out here, we didn't really know anybody. You were hitting everybody up.
We
like Nina was
grinded.
DMing everybody, trying to figure things out. Similar story with me. Like, we didn't really know anybody. We didn't have a network. We didn't have a base.
Right.
Just making it work.
It's kind of like, you got to make a lane.
Yeah.
You have to be social.
Yeah.
You have to kind of put yourself out there to actually do something of significance.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about your journey in Iowa. Where are you originally from? And then how did that kind of all translate to where living out in LA now?
Okay, so I'm from Sioux City, Iowa. My parents moved to Des Moines in probably 2014.
Okay.
And that's when I got done with college. I had recently gotten sick. And then I had a buddy got me into photography. And I started shooting like rappers, like artists in Iowa. And then it eventually came to a standstill where, like, we're in an apartment, we got evicted, it's wintertime, and I'm like, there's only so much I can do here. Especially like wintertime, you can't really shoot outside.
Oh no.
And I'm like,
if you don't know, Iowa's it's 0 degrees, but a wind chill of -20. And you've got 3 feet of snow outside and just heavy winds.
It's terrible. So I was like, I gotta get out of here. Took a chance, moved to LA. Well, went to LA. Lasted a while, meeting some connections, reaching out to people. That was the biggest thing, is putting myself out there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was going out every night, not partying really. Well, we were partying, but it was more like, who can I make a connection with?
Strategic party.
Who's
You're
going to be here?
networking.
Networking was the biggest thing. Like, oh, what's your name? My name is Jayson. I do photography.
Can I take your photo?
And I remember doing so many free shoots just to get to where I am now. And that's kind of a thing that I would tell other photographers to do is like, you have to put in your dues
Yes.
to eventually reach the top. You know what I mean? Like, you got to hit the lows before you hit the highs.
You got to earn your stripes.
You have to. And that's a thing you don't really see nowadays as much as maybe like the younger generation. I feel like maybe doesn't grind as hard as we did, but it's more like we went through the gutter. I remember being homeless, doing crazy stuff like Nina and I, and then it pays off if you keep trying. You know?
And actually, you and Nina, how did you guys even meet? Because you guys are from different.
That's such a funny story. So I was back in Iowa, and my buddy had a clothing line, and he's like, "Do a shoot for me, whatever." So I'd find some models. I posted on Instagram, "Need models in Iowa." And Nina had hit me up, and I didn't know she had previously messaged me, which was funny. And so she hits me up. She was the only one that hits me up for the shoot, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So she comes and we shoot, and then she tells me she was getting into photography or had started photography. And I was like, oh, I have this really cool model friend I'm shooting tomorrow. Come with me. I'll teach you some stuff, blah, blah, blah. Nina ends up eating shit on an ice rink and breaking her head in front of like me and this other girl. It was so funny. I felt it was like where your back hits and then your head hits.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I thought she had a concussion, whatever.
Oh my gosh.
She gets up like a champ, and I'm like, okay, I see something. And then we kept talking, and then it was her birthday. And then I had already planned to go back to LA.
Yeah.
So then I went to LA for 6 months, and then I came back and I was like, you ready to be my girlfriend? And that's when, like from her story of where she was working at the sandwich shop. And then I tell her, one day, like, hey, like quit the job, like focus on modeling, and I'll teach you photography more, and you'll develop a style. And eventually that worked. But it was a huge thing. Like we were staying at my dad's house, just hitting up models for free, doing trade for prints. But it worked out in the end because you had to take that risk. You know what I mean? And she could have went and worked at that job, but like, look where we are now. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It's such a big risk, but there's big rewards that come from that.
The bigger the risk, possibly the bigger reward.
Hopefully, yes. For us at least, yeah.
Absolutely. And so, you're doing a lot of shoots in Iowa. You're traveling back and forth from LA back to Iowa.
Yeah, quite a bit, yeah.
You're doing shoots in LA, and the shoots that you're doing in LA and stuff, they're all just kind of off the muscle, off the strength of going out, putting yourself out there, meeting people, letting them know what you do. Let me do this for you, right? You're just out there providing your value,
providing value, trying to show people that I had the skills and ambition to do it, and that I was a nice, kind person, and that you could trust me. Yeah. Compared to like other people, not saying like you can't trust other people, but like I wanted to show them like I had that drive, that that oomph.
And actually, across the world, of course, the trust factor is huge, but especially here in big cities, in big metropolitans, right? A lot in LA, that trust factor and that real work ethic goes the extra mile. One of our traits being from the Midwest is the hard work.
Midwest nice.
And the Midwest nice. You got both of them. And it's just being able to show that to people that aren't used to seeing that, and building that trust factor off the, just off rip with them.
Right.
I think can really help go the extra mile.
It's huge. Like, I have models I shoot with, and like, you're not from Cali, are you? I'm like, no, I'm from Iowa. And they're like, that's why you're so nice, because they want someone who can shoot them, but also be their friend. Yeah. And I feel like it's tough for a lot of people to actually do that,
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. So when you first got out to LA, when you're doing like your traveling shoots and stuff like that out here, what was your kind of first impressions? Did you always know like this is where it's going to happen, this is where I'm going to make these opportunities work, or like what kept driving you to come back here?
That's a funny story. So when I first came, it was rough. Yeah. And then, I made it work, just building connections, and then I go back to Iowa, and I did that so many times where I was working with like artists, rappers, hip hop people mostly, or models or influencers. And it got to a point where I think I was maybe like 27, and I was like, I can't go back to LA. Like I would never live in LA again, because I thought that like downtown Santa Monica area was all of LA. Like I thought that was all of California. I didn't know there were places like Encino, Calabasas, places that were normal. And so I was like, I'll never do it again. And then at 30, I got an opportunity to move back, and me and Nina thought about it for a while. We're like, YOLO, let's try it again. So we just put everything into a storage unit, and yeah, we've been here a little over a year now permanently.
Yeah.
And now we're like stable, have great jobs, killing it, making crazy connections.
Yeah.
And we're at like the top of our game now, because it was like when we were in LA, it was like you had to meet people to make connections, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like we have those connections, but they're with some of the biggest stars in the game.
Yeah.
So now it's like full circle. It's like you hit that one person up a million times. Now they're hitting you up a million times. And I'm like, whoa, this is shocking. You know?
Man.
And it just shows you like, don't give up, keep trying. Like there were times I wanted to quit. I remember one time I was in LA, my dad said, if you come home before a certain date, you have to get a real job.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I was on the verge of quitting. And then Ubisoft, the video game company, had emailed me to shoot for them. And I was like, this is a sign not to quit.
Yeah.
And then everything went up from there.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. So it's just like, never give up. No matter what you go through, just keep trying. What I learned about LA is there's so many opportunities because it's a hub of where people come in and out of.
Yeah.
Nobody really comes in and out of Iowa.
Yeah.
The weather's not always
It's a
sunny.
flyover state.
100%. Like most of the people I say I'm from Iowa, they're like, Idaho? I'm like,
no.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like the middle of the United States, you know, that one.
Oh, Ohio.
Oh, or Ohio. Oh my God, dude, Ohio's a big one, bro. And it's like, sure, if you want to call it that, whatever.
Yeah.
But LA, I love LA now that we're established and we've kind of got out of that you fight or flight type of moment. And now it's more like, how do we level up now from where we are?
Absolutely. It's building blocks. It's always taking one step ahead, one step ahead, or one step forward, I guess, right?
Always, yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool. And then when you were in Santa Monica, that's where I ended up kind of moving in. And transparently, that wasn't the easiest time. COVID had just hit. All the like traditional shoots and traditional landscape of this whole game changed. It stopped at first, and then it created a giant change in the whole entire industry. And I remember us just like getting creative and just getting back to the roots of all of this sort of stuff, and just making our own fun.
We'd go shoot it right outside the apartment.
Yeah.
We'd still make them look good. We were shooting in the apartment.
Yeah.
I remember we did that mirror picture where it was like but then the mirror reflection was a different person, I mean, we were like, that COVID time was crazy because it was like, like everybody's locked in their house. What do? There's no artist performing in studios. There's nobody going out. Like, who do you shoot? And then it was me, you, and Nina.
Yeah.
So like, we got to shoot each other.
Yeah.
And we still had some good photos, you know what I mean? Good content. And I feel like people really liked that. But unfortunately, then we had to move, which then I felt bad because you were our best roommate and we had just only seen you for like 5 months and then we had to dip.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, this sucks. And that was one of the points where I was like, man, I don't know if I can make it back to California.
No, dude, well, we're glad that you did.
Yeah, thank God.
And I remember one of you remember that shoot that we did where it was literally right behind the apartment building. There were the like roses or the flowers that were growing. Pick those up.
And you had the human chain.
Yeah, had the human chain on one of the roses.
That's one of my favorite shots still. Yeah, that was fire.
Mine too. Yeah, we were just, again, we had limited opportunities. We had limited access. Actually, at that point, there were no opportunities. Right? It was just like, what can we do to keep active, to stay creative, to keep the juices rolling?
Right.
Like, and that's it. It almost felt like kind of similar to what we were having to do when we were in Iowa, just like making these things happen ourselves.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and so and maybe for me at that time too, it also, I might've been a little naive because literally right as I kind of moved out there shortly after COVID started, so I didn't really even get to experience what like the real aspect of all the, all the networking events and all the just the parties and stuff like that that are going on to make those connections. So just like, oh, well, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this.
We were doing so much random stuff. Oh my God. Like, oh, there's a party. Oh, this guy is having a pop-up shop. Like, we're going.
Yeah.
That's the thing, which I was glad we did when we were younger. Cause like now, I'm older and I'm like, oh man, do I stay in the night or do I go out? Like, who's going to be there? Is it worth it?
Yep.
But then back then we didn't care. You know, it was more like, there's going to be an opportunity. You meet one person, could change your entire life. You know what I mean? Which did. We met quite a few people who changed their lives. You know what I mean? And It was all about just putting yourself out there and going.
Yeah.
You just have to go to
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. No.
And be nice and be friendly and not be weird.
Yeah, you're spot on. You're spot on. So I know back in the day, so you said in like 2014 is kind of when you picked up the camera and started getting to work, but before that you were an athlete. You're a big baseball player.
Yeah, I played college baseball and spent my whole life playing baseball, and then got sick and lost my scholarship. Yeah.
Yeah, you ended up getting Crohn's disease. What is it?
Yeah, ulcerative colitis. It's like a form of that,
Okay.
but
Okay.
it sucks. Yeah, there's no cure. Like once I got that, they're like, "Yeah, you'll never play baseball again," and I'm like, "Great." You know, like I banked my whole life off playing baseball. Like I didn't do well in school.
Yeah.
Didn't do well in college. You know, and then one day a buddy in my communications class was like, shout out Michael Francis. He was like, "Yo, dude, since you're not playing ball anymore, will you film me a music video?" And I'm like, he was a basketball player at the college. I was like, I didn't even know you did music. And he's like, yeah. I was like, I don't have a camera. He's like, come on, dude, I'll pay you like $50 and you can use my buddy's camera. And then just holding that camera, we shot the worst music video I mean, it's embarrassing.
Is it still out there?
I hope not. And yeah, so we did that. But holding that camera, I was like, wow, this is a cool thing. And then I went home for the summer, never went back, and ordered a camera off eBay on some PayPal credit.
Yep.
And just learned for 3 years on YouTube because I was like bedridden for like 3 years.
Wow.
So I would just watch YouTube every single day, dissecting a camera, going outside. I didn't have any friends. I was in the middle of nowhere, Nebraska at the time, you know, on a feedlot, gas station 30 miles away.
Wow.
And so I'd go around this feedlot. There'd be like random bottles. There'd be like random cassette tape things. And I'd take pictures. I'm like, well, why is the front end in focus, but the back end's not? So then I have to learn aperture and shutter speed. And so I had 3 years kind of just watching YouTube every single day. And then I got to a point where I was like, I need to move to Des Moines with my dad so I can start infusion treatments. And once I got on infusion treatments, my life got better. And then I linked up with the homie from my hometown who was an engineer for like Iowa's like most famous rappers.
Okay.
And so I did a lot of like free work for them just to like prove a point. But then that got me into the music scene.
Yeah.
So then I would shoot for them who would open up for like Waka Flocka or Kid Ink or Lil Uzi Vert. And that's where my social skills kicked in. And I was like, I'll shoot these guys. I'm going to slide back behind stage and stay for these big headliners and try to like put my name in.
Yeah.
You know, and that really helped out. You know, I toured with Futuristic and did a lot of work with him, shot for, you know, Dizzy Wright, Tech Nine. And then the word just kind of got around. I started shooting for bigger people. I remember shooting for Migos. Just a lot of people, but it was all about just putting yourself out there and trying to make that connection.
You had to make the first step, which then grows to the next, which then grows to the next. And
so like a lot of kids want to get paid for shooting concerts, right? Me, it was like, I just want the opportunity to show this guy that I have what it takes.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't got to pay me. I just want to come shoot the show.
Yeah.
And that's it. I want to show you. And then hopefully you repost it on Instagram.
Yeah.
To make me look cool.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And it really worked. I mean, just going to every show and no matter who the headliner was, I stayed.
Yeah.
You know, and now like I have a lot of famous friends through that, you know.
Absolutely.
Which is wild.
Absolutely. So, and throughout that time, what ended up what solidified you? The music and you shooting the music stuff and all that sort of stuff was great, but like a lot of it's not really translating into actually being able to build a real career off of it. How did you start making that transition? Because I know like today, you guys have shot for like Sturgis several times. You guys have done, you know, you guys have done like real product or like products and projects and stuff like that. How were you able to make that transition from just doing it for lack of a better term, the flex and building that connection to actually becoming it, you know, letting it be your financials, you know?
So the funny thing was when I was shooting like rappers and stuff, they'd all be like, how are you funding all this, right?
Yeah.
And I have a little secret code for photographers out there. So what I would do is I would hit up brands, right? Like Apple or jewelry companies, like jewelry, kind of things I liked.
Yeah.
And I would reach out to them. I'd be like, hey, send me your watch. I'll take some pictures for you. And then I'd send them maybe one or two. They get hooked and they say, how much can we charge? How much do you charge per month for 30 photos? So I would lock on like 7 companies and then I could just have my friends model for free because they like the exposure, like Bang Energy, Apple. There's 8 billion companies I shot for, but then that would fund my lifestyle. Then,
Nice.
so it looked like I was getting paid from these artists when I was really getting paid for product
From the
photography.
products.
Which is, and I got free shit, you
Yeah,
know, and I
yeah.
love free jewelry, you know, and
Of course.
so that really helped a lot. And then my photo was in the App Store for like the last 4 years until like February. It just got taken down.
I was about to say, you had a big one that was in something to do with Apple. You
Yeah,
had
yeah,
a,
that was
a
crazy.
landscape photo, wasn't it?
It was a picture of one of my buddies, and he was in Des Moines. You know, like that sign downtown that's like red, yellow. It's like a bunch of different colors. It's like a mural
Yes.
that lights up.
Yeah, by the bridge.
By
Yeah.
the bridge, yeah. So he stood there and he had a bandana on and he stood sideways. So it was like a silhouette basically. And I posted it to a stock website and Apple emailed me and they're like, yo, take this down. We want to buy it. And I'm like, oh, someone's pranking me, right? So I look up the email. Oh, shit, it's real. So I take the photo down and they offered me, you know, money. And I was like, well, how about just a new phone instead? And because I had a shitty phone at the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, we have to pay you. I was like, okay. So they had my rights for like 4 years to the photo, which I didn't really care about. And it was in the App Store and people saw it and then other companies. But it was a lot had to do with like stock websites.
Yeah.
Like a lot of my photos, like I have 300 plus million views on one site, which is a shout
Wow.
out to Nina because Nina was my main model.
Oh yeah.
And man, these stock websites just loved her. But like my friends were like, yo, you're giving all the rights away to your photos for views.
Yeah.
But I'm like, it's like Instagram. You post, it goes to your profile,
Yeah.
right? But if you hit that explore feed, you're getting millions of views and you have no idea who's going to see it.
Right.
Like I just had one of my pictures as a book cover for a tattoo magazine and I make royalties off that still.
Oh no
Which
way.
they didn't have to give me royalties,
Yeah.
but they were nice enough to reach out to me and give me royalties for it.
That's phenomenal.
So it's like crazy when you look up like my name, who uses, like we're in like Canva, like all the filter apps on CapCut.
Yeah.
Because people will come to our house and they'll be like, they'll look at Nina like, I know you from somewhere. And then they'll use the filter app and they're like, oh, you're on the premium version. That's your photo. Holy God. So that's a pretty cool flex that we can flex Nina like that.
Yeah.
But then some people don't know it's Nina because I get all the credit for it.
Sure.
You
Sure.
know? But it's a really good way to get your photos out there that you don't sell. Like I'm not going to sell
That's cool.
pictures of Nina to people, right?
Of course. Yeah.
Maybe if I had the right market, but it's better to give that out for free and see who responds back.
No, that's sweet.
So
Yeah.
that's a little cheat code.
The stock sort of
Stock sites.
Yeah, it's always gone way past me. I learned that though from you guys, and one time this was shortly I think after you guys had moved out. I had a photographer buddy, Antonio, came and visited me. Is it Unsplash?
Unsplash. Shout out Unsplash.
I had uploaded one of the photos that he took of me on Unsplash. And the last time I checked, it had like 200,000
Oh my
views
God,
or
that's pretty
downloads
good.
or whatever. I was
That's
just
pretty good.
It's actually my profile photo on Instagram.
Okay.
It's been downloaded, tons of times and been seen tons of times on that.
And you have
Unsplash
no idea
page.
who those people are that see it. You
No.
know what I mean? They could be a CEO. They could be someone that just wants to hire you privately.
Yeah.
You know, like it can be anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's crazy. Like we've had our photos in Walmart where our friends will see themselves in a picture frame. They're like, oh my God, I'm famous. I'm like, hell yeah, you are. You know?
It's so cool. What going back to kind of the roots here, I remember like when we first met and you guys were shooting that shirt. You had kind of already touched on this at the beginning, but what was that like? Because that was real, just run and gun, boots on the ground, just kind of classic Iowa stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that helps like in life if you don't have a plan. Because a lot of people like to have mood boards, they like
Yeah.
to do all this. But me, I'm more like, okay, let's pop out, let's walk around downtown,
Yeah.
and let's see what looks good in different areas, right?
Yeah.
So it didn't really matter about the color of the outfits, anything like that. But that's probably some of the happiest times of my life too, because
Yeah.
there's not pressure. You know, you're out with your buddies, you're making cool content. People are
Yeah.
having fun. We have speakers, we're blasting music. People are stopping by, taking pictures of you because it looks like you're doing something cool.
Yeah.
And I do miss those times actually, like when it was easier and we were just going off like the bat, like
Yeah.
we didn't have a plan in mind. We're like, let's just shoot dope content. And that made us more creative, I feel like, because like the more creative we were, the more it stood out. So like you flip an
100%.
image upside down, looks cool. You
Yeah.
levitate something.
Yeah. Oh, you were big on the
The
levitating stuff.
levitating
You were
stuff.
big on the levitating stuff.
I remember my first picture, the levitation was with Bang Energy, and I levitated a Bang Energy can that went crazy.
You were big on that. That was your thing.
Now I noticed the Iowa airport stole my idea, and they levitate the IDs now in their hand that say
No
like
way.
you can now put it on your phone.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, y'all stole my idea. I'm not the first person to create the levitation shots, but it was just an eye catcher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You didn't have to be the best. I wasn't the best photographer at the time, but I stood out because of
you were
that.
creative with it. Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing, is trying to be more creative than good.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely. It's something that I touch on a lot on the branding side of things too, where it's like, look, you don't have to create the fanciest, coolest, newest, greatest product ever, right? Because if you do and you don't know how to market it and nobody sees it and it doesn't stand out or it doesn't stop the person scrolling on social media, no one's going to buy it, right? But like, if you do create something that you know how to make stand out, how to make it be a scroll stopper, right? Or a show stopper, then you actually have something there. You're able to start really marketing that. You can double down on that. You can, and that's what it's always been written in stone, right? But in today's world, it's way more important now to be able to have a standout, standalone, pop-looking thing, than it is to just be fitting in with the mix.
100%.
Right? And so, yeah, I love that. I love that. And, you know, what are some of your favorite shoots that you've done, or some of the favorite products that you've shot, or, you know, what's something that you're really proud of? Kind of.
What I'm really proud of. That's a tough question. Because I like all my work, really.
Yeah.
But probably the Apple photo, just to say I was in the App Store for so long, and like people didn't even know when they're in the App Store, you'd see my photo. Like the first thing was my photo. So that's pretty cool to say. But I mean, like Nina and I were at Best Buy the other day, and on one of the Bluetooth speakers was one of my pictures, you know, and I'm like, wow. So it's just crazy to think of like where all my photos are in the world.
Yeah.
So that's a cool thing. But my favorite thing to shoot is tattooed people.
Okay.
I love it because just they stand out, makes for a cooler photo. Like shooting tattooed people, and like Angela Mazzanti, was one of my first tattooed people I had shot, and that had dreamt about shooting. Yeah. And when I first got the chance to shoot with her, I was like, I'm gonna go beast mode. And I wasn't even the photographer at this thing we were at, and she's like hopping line, getting rotation with these guys, and I was going against like some of the best photographers in the world. And then she posted my photos over everybody else's. Then we made a relationship. We went to Hawaii with her. Nina shot her wedding.
Wow. I remember that.
Yeah, just built such a big relationship off just showing that I could do it. Like I was like, I'm gonna smash these guys. Yeah. Like I was like, she's gonna give me a chance to shoot. I'm
taking that.
I'm gonna kill it.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool.
So that's a memorable shoot for sure, is the Angela Mazzanti shoot for sure. That really put me on. And Little Zan when I snuck backstage at 515. Yeah. And I got a picture of Little Zan that went mad viral. Shout out to Zan, like we're still good friends. Yeah. And, you know, skating all them. And that was a huge pivoting point with artists too. Cause then, you know, like he introduced me to Denzel Curry and all these other people. But Zan was such a nice guy. I'm like, hey man, can I just get a portrait of you real quick? And he's on a golf cart and he's like, of course, dude. And he pulls his lip down. He's got tats. And the photo just went crazy.
And what was awesome about that one too is that was at 515 Alive.
515, yeah.
And that's like in Iowa, we don't have a big scene. We don't have a big music scene or art scene or anything like that. And this group had started this festival, and that was kind of peak Zanarchy, Little Zan.
The SoundCloud era. That was massive. Trippy Red.
Yeah.
You know,
And so they got Little Zan out there. You were able to take that crazy photo.
He let me on stage with him.
In Iowa. Yeah. Just the whole dichotomy of the whole thing, right? Like it was so cool. And like that gave you so much credibility in so many different facets, right? Throughout Iowa, people in the Iowa scene that were into that sort of stuff, people in the music scene, people out here, right? Like it went crazy viral, like you said.
Crazy
viral. And that was before, well before TikTok time.
Before TikTok.
Thousands of people are going viral a day, right? Like that was a real magical moment.
So what's crazy about that is like, becoming friends with Zan, but then I became friends with Skate and Steven, right? Yeah. So I saw him at 515, and then I would come to LA, all the time. Yeah. So I'd call him up and be like, yo, Steven, Zan, what are you guys up to? Oh, it's my birthday. Come through and party. Or like, hey, we have a music video shoot. Come through and take some BTS in our music video. Yep. Like just random occurrences, but we kept the relationship online for 4 years until we officially came back to LA, or maybe even longer than that. Wow. But it just shows you being social and making friends and keeping those relationships alive will pay off in the end.
I love it.
You know, and like skate, great guys, still friends. You know, Zan,
yeah.
still friends. Steven, shout out Steven Cannon.
Yep.
You know, they're all great guys, and they gave me that opportunity. They're not like, hey, fuck you, leave, don't take our pictures. They were
Right.
like flexing, you know,
Yeah.
pouring out the bottles, smoking the cig, you know, and
Yeah.
they were super cool guys. And then I was just like, I need to keep these relationships alive, and now we're really good friends. So
Absolutely. And I feel like that's one thing that a lot of people lack, right?
100%.
Yes, there's one aspect where it's like, this is our job. We need to just come in and do our job. But at the same time, you need to figure out a way to balance and blend the two where it's like, yes, this is my job, but if I can also just be presented and held in the same light that these people are like holding
100%.
themselves in, holding their peers in, like they'll, you know, everybody's going to treat each other alike. And if that's the case, then, you know, I can become a part of the friend group and I can become a part of the community, and that can flourish into more things and bigger things and stuff like that. And so with that being said too, what are some other kind of, you've been dropping some gems throughout this whole thing, but what are some other sort of words of advice and input that you would give to any other aspiring creative that is not already doing what they want to be doing and loving what they're doing, and they want to be able to expand into doing what they want to love and do?
I would say like shoot now, ask questions later. I say that a lot. But for like inspired, like people that are like maybe wanting to get into being a creative, like your first year is going to be the hardest for sure.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Second year, probably going to be even harder. And then once you see results, you keep trying, keep making connections, be social, be kind, do great content also, and just show your work ethic. It'll pay off. It's just time's against you.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that's against you is time. So you could become big in a day or maybe 7 years. Like me, it took a while, you know, but just never giving up and always taking chances. You have to risk it for the biscuit, as they say, you know, like, and I'll live by that. Like I've taken some huge risk. Like I got shit on literally, you know, slept homeless, couch surfed, thought I was going to die at some points. And I was just like, I have to keep going.
Wait, hold on. What do you mean you got shit on literally?
That's a long story.
Oh, no.
One of the first times I moved out to LA.
Oh, wait. Like literally.
Okay. So technically, we're staying at this lady's house. Nina has to go. We didn't even really know this lady, right?
Okay.
We first come to LA. She's letting us crash with her. And she has like this little kid, probably 3 or 4. And the little girl comes out, and I'm sleeping on an air mattress in this house. I don't even know anybody because Nina had just left to go to San Francisco.
Wow.
And this little girl, she's funny. We're playing around, and she kind of makes this awkward movement. And I'm like, huh, that's weird. I didn't want to like embarrass her or anything, but she moves out of the way, and there's a shit, like a stream of shit, right? But it happened to be on my new white Vans, right?
Oh, no.
And I don't have a car in LA or anywhere, so I had to walk like a mile to the mall with no shoes on, come back, get shoes, come back, and the robot vacuum cleaner had picked up my shoelace and was dragging this shit through the whole house, bro. And I told Nina, because I'm not a confrontational person.
Yeah.
So I was like, Nina, you got to say something because I don't know what the hell to do.
I don't know what to say. I don't know
and
what
she's
to
in
do.
San Francisco. And I'm like, because she's the one with the backbone. And then, so that happens. And then the next morning, little girl comes out, hops on the air mattress, whatever. Then she gets up, and I notice there's a shit stain. And I'm like, fuck my life. Then I called Nina. So then Nina had to say something, but she was just a little girl, maybe having some problems, and I didn't want to embarrass her.
Of course, yeah.
But it was definitely an awakening to LA. That was the first thing I remember coming to LA.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm like, hey, sweetie. And I look down. Oh, fuck.
Oh, not again.
I felt bad for her too at the time, you know, because she's just a little kid.
Yeah.
But they were really good to us. And eventually we moved in the Santa Monica place right after that. So it all worked out. But yeah, there's some crazy stories about that.
Some shitty stories.
Some shitty stories.
That's awesome, man. So, where do you see yourself kind of, I know I asked Nina this, but you know, I want to get your perspective too. Where do you see yourself in the next 5-10 years within career and self, and any big goals or aspirations or anything that you still want to check off your kind of shoot list or bucket list?
Yeah, my shoot list is if I shoot Justin Bieber personally, not like something that someone's like, not like a concert or something.
Yeah.
Like if we did like a professional shoot together, I'm retiring. And then Justin Bieber was the biggest one. But like now that I'm in LA and we work with like some of the biggest clients in the world, it's more like, I kind of reached a point I never thought I would reach. So
Yeah.
now it's time like where I was like a couple months ago, like, what's my new goal?
Yeah.
So my new goal is to just keep what I'm doing, but on a higher level.
Yeah.
Just keep trying to get a hold of not just necessarily famous people, but influencers.
Yeah.
Because influencers are running the internet.
Oh yeah.
So it doesn't matter if you're a famous rapper, like, because I was always into rappers. Now
Yeah.
it's more like I want to shoot influencers or TV personnel,
Yeah.
or just big time people,
Real top level IP and talent.
Yeah, I want to be known for shooting top level creators and top level movie stars, and like, I want to be known as one of them.
Oh, that's sweet.
That's the goal. So, and just to do good work and have fun.
Yeah, I know. I love it. So, any final words that you want to let them know?
Yeah, human clothing's the best. So is Miller. And if you come from a place in the Midwest or anywhere, that you feel like you can't really get out of, just try, work, do what you have to do, go shoot with your friends for fun. Like, we would always go shoot with each other for just fun. You know what I mean? I remember those were some of the best times. And eventually it's going to translate to, if you move somewhere, you're still going to have that work ethic.
Yeah.
And people will admire that. And then it relates to a real job where, like, now we would shoot at a house all the time. Now I'm taking these clients out and they're like, wow, we're doing fashion photography. We're doing all this cool photography that I was already doing back in Iowa.
Yeah.
I'm just doing with more upscale. People are higher.
It's at a higher level now.
It's at a higher level, but the same thing.
Yeah.
So the core is the same, So that's the biggest thing, is just don't give up, keep creating, but always try to level up. Like, keep watching YouTube University.
YouTube University, baby.
Keep learning, and just keep trying to better your craft. And I think you'll do well.
Well, I appreciate you as always, Jayson. Thank you for your time, man.
Appreciate you.
Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and let us know down below what you want to hear more of. If you want to see more interviews, if you need any tips on anything, we got it all for you.
Peace.